This lousy weather right across the whole sector. You can't let things drag on over there, Jack.
Is it a murder?
No, I don't believe so. Walter Jones was already in pretty bad shape. The heart and all the rest of it. So, just a routine check, okay? It's a routine matter, all right? I want to hear death from natural causes, with no stories, you understand? I don't want a crime on my hands right now, seeing my bill of health, understand?
You're the boss, Vic.
Jack?
Of course, I understand.
You're really helping me out here, you know?
Get well, Vic. See you soon.
The weather forecast is awful, Inspector. It's likely to turn into a nightmare in a few hours. Don't drag on. We'll come to get you at 4 p.m.
Okay for 4 p.m. I don't expect to be any later than necessary.
Inspector Norm, welcome to Sakura. I'm Hubert Denault, the attorney, Mr. Jones.
Okay, Mr. Nolan, let's go. I don't have much time.
Are you sure you don't want to take time to settle in? There's a room that's been prepared for you, Inspector Norm.
Unnecessary. If it turns out that Mr. Jones's death was accidental, then I have no reason to hang around here, Mr. Nolan.
I beg you to pardon me for this somewhat acrobatic descent. I had to put this ladder here urgently this morning to access the corpse. Yesterday evening, when I tried to help, poor Walter was stuck higher up in the rocks close to the edge. The waves must have sent the poor man's body rolling toward the bottom during the night. We suffered a terrible storm, you know.
A nail implanted in the cheek. His attacker wasn't light about it. At first glance, the body doesn't show signs of death by drowning or hypothermia. And this injury on the forehead seems too superficial to have caused the death. It's the forensic expert's job now. It's for him to tell me what killed Walter Jones.
Hello, Inspector Jack Norm. Welcome to your personal police assistant. Jack, this device was created to help you in your investigations. The goal of the software system is to rationalize the combination of clues, evidence, hypotheses, and deductions, which will allow you to quickly uncover the criminals. For this, your personal police assistant will store all information you will collect about the suspects during your investigations. It will remember their age, gender, and function. The incriminating and exculpatory evidence are also made note of. In addition, it will indicate in real time their geographical position in the surrounding areas where you might need to find them during your investigation. The Clue Manager will centralize all of the information that you have collected, whether it includes photos, documents, material evidence, or even suspects' statements. In your hands, you have more than a motive for matching clues that you will have collected. You also have a great tool for comparing them. This function will be particularly useful for validating the match between two prints, two footprints, or even the relationship between two pieces of an object. You can trust your personal police assistant to validate the correct hypothesis and to keep you from being misled into dead ends. This device includes a third function, which strictly depends on the two others. It is your progress manager. It divides your investigation into a certain number of precise interrogations, like different pieces of a puzzle. Your job becomes a child's game, Jack. When you know how to respond correctly to all of these questions, you will have solved your investigation.
Ask all the questions you'd like to ask. I'm at your service.
What can you tell me regarding the death of Walter Jones?
In my view, we're looking at a murder. I'm categorical, Inspector. I saw Baina push Walter over the edge. The identity of the culprit is not a matter of question for me.
Where were you and what were you doing last night?
I was at the restaurant with the guests when Walter left for his walk at around 10 p.m. I went back to my office maybe a quarter of an hour or half an hour later. I had to wait for him, as we had agreed upon in the afternoon. Not seeing him come, I looked out of the window, and that's when I saw what could have been a quarrel between Baina Jumhu and Walter at the Tortoise Belvedere. He fell to the bottom, in his wheelchair. I hurried to help him, but it was raining like mad, and I could not go down to the rocks to get him out of there. He was no longer moving. I think he died instantly. I came back to tell everyone what had happened, and I also immediately called the police.
What was your relationship with Walter Jones?
I've worked for Walter Jones for over 20 years. Our relationship was always excellent. In fact, he even did me the honor of asking me to call him by his first name. I admired this man immensely, Inspector. I would even say that I had affection for him, and that this was mutual.
Tell me, did your boss have a suicidal temperament? Or was he in the habit of taking unreasonable risks? Or was he in fragile health? Could it be that following severe medical treatment, he suffered from dizziness and fainting spells? What more can I say? You have to tell me everything, Mr. Noland.
No, Inspector. Physically and mentally, Walter Jones was as solid as a rock. He only suffered from a paralysis of the lower limbs, but nothing that could explain this mortal fall.
I'll take note of it. First, I have to transmit my conclusions to Reeves as quickly as possible.
Is Walter Jones's death accidental? The death of Walter Jones seems to be criminal.
Reeves, it's Jack. The forensic expert's gonna have work. The death seems suspicious. A fall from a few meters that leaves scratches and an embedded nail in the face? It's not all that clear, you understand?
Jack, if it's like you said, I'm afraid you'll have to prolong your stay. Sorry. I didn't want to impose this on you. You have carte blanche to confirm this. Good luck.
Inspector, I'm entirely at your service to answer any questions that may come to your mind. What do you say about it, Inspector?
Your boss was murdered.
Well, I guess this list will be useful. It has the identities of all the people who currently reside on the island. And here's the key to your room. Because now I suppose you're going to be staying a while. I remain at your disposition, Inspector. Especially to give you a tour of the tower. It's huge, you know.
Thanks. I think I can manage.
Fine, I'll leave you then. See you later, Inspector.
Ah, here we are. Something interesting. Seemingly, Walter Jones was not alone the moment he had his great fall. The wheelchair made a chaotic journey before falling off the cliff. There's a piece missing on the armrest. Walter Jones must have hit himself here against this rock. To what does this piece of cloth belong? even more footprints. There were 2 people following Jones that evening.
I'm happy to see you here, Sonia.
Me too, Lorenzo. It's a pleasure to see you.
I would have preferred that we see each other in other circumstances.
You don't always have the choice.
Did your grandfather's death affect you deeply?
I don't know. I just can't believe it.
I had problems because of him. But they all went away after his tragic death. In the end, Jones was a good man.
Yes, certainly. I don't know what to think.
Would you like to change the subject?
No, not specially. I'm just a little off, that's all.
The sky is melancholic. Like us, Sonia.
It's true. Perfect weather for a burial. Too bad that the weather is so bad. I would have liked to try out my new bikini.
Forecast for the next few days isn't so good. But you never know.
Good morning. I'm Inspector Jack Norm. I am charged with conducting the investigation of the death of Mr. Jones.
Delighted, Mr. Inspector. Lorenzo Battaglieri. I'm the architect and the mastermind behind this tower in which you'll stay.
May I photograph your shoes?
Do it. Do it, Inspector, if it'll help to discover the truth.
Thanks.
I'm listening, Inspector. I want you to know that you can count on my total availability. I have a lot of free time now.
What can you tell me regarding the death of Walter Jones?
I can't tell you a thing, nothing at all. It's Hubert de Noland who woke me up to tell me about this business. I've got nothing more I can tell you.
Where were you and what were you doing last night?
I spent the evening in my studio listening to the radio. And then I learned of Jones's death from Noland.
What was your relationship with Walter Jones?
Our dealings, both professional and even more so personal, were never simple, Mr. Norm. But I appreciated that he was a character and a man who had talent. I must confess that I'm more affected by his death than I had thought. That's just the way it is, you know. My artistic temperament has always pushed me to be a little bit sentimental.
Who is the rightful owner of this piece of chain?
It seems to me that Walter Jones wore a small chain like that.
Do these pearls mean anything to you?
No, really, they don't mean anything to me.
To whom could this shred of cloth collected from the rocks of the Belvedere belong?
I don't know. It's... no, I know nothing at all, really.
I'm wondering whose shoe prints these are.
I don't know, Norm. Sorry.
Who normally walks barefoot on the island?
Well, all the women of the island usually do, Norm.
These footprints near the tracks of the wheelchair lead me to think that there was an argument which got out of hand.
Maybe. I'm not a policeman. I'm nothing but a poor architect.
The wheelchairs seemed to be acting strangely before skidding and falling from the cliff. Could it have been malfunctioning? Could a false maneuver have been the reason for the fall?
God, well, that's hard to say. You know, electronic technology is not always immune to human error.
Did Walter Jones die following the first impact on hitting the rocks, or from what happened to him when he fell further down?
How should I know, Norm? I'm no forensics expert.
What do you think of the attorney, Hubert de Noland?
Noland is a crafty and slick man. I don't trust him, Inspector.
Did you see anyone at the Tortoise Belvedere last evening, or did anything at all catch your attention?
I can't answer your question, Norm. I wasn't there.
Do you know anything about medicine?
No, of course not. What a question.
Too bad. I really need some medical advice. Well, I will wait for the coroner's report. I get it. Good morning, ma'am. Jack Norm. I'm a police inspector, and I'm charged with the investigation of the death of Mr. Walter Jones.
Good morning, Inspector. Sonia Jones. I'm the granddaughter of Walter Jones. You know, I hadn't thought that my time in Segura would take such a dramatic turn.
If it doesn't bother you, I'd love to take a photo of your hands, please.
Your method of flirting is very questionable, Inspector. But if that's what you want.
Thanks. I'm collecting footprints, and I'd like to add yours.
Go on. I imagine this is part of the game.
Thanks. I would like to ask you 2 or 3 questions. Who is the rightful owner of this piece of chain?
I do have the impression that my grandfather wore something that looked like it. It's pretty ugly in any case. Even if we agree it's made of gold. Wait, yes. I do believe... But at the same time, I'm not sure.
Do these pearls mean anything to you?
Pearls of no value, Inspector. Like the ones worn by the indigenous people of the archipelago. No, they don't mean any more than that to me.
What can you tell me regarding the death of Walter Jones?
It was Hubert de Noland, you met him, I believe, who told me about the death of my grandfather. Nolan went to the site to rescue my grandfather, but it was too late. And then there was the storm. He advised me not to move, and Billy and Clara too, so we stayed here. This Baina was there, according to what Nolan told us. There's no way that she could have a clear conscience.
Where were you and what were you doing last night?
I spent the evening with my brother Billy and my sister-in-law Clara, Mr. Norm. It was Hubert de Noland, my grandfather's attorney, who informed us of his death.
What was your relationship with Walter Jones?
You know, Mr. Norm, my grandfather was a tough man. He wasn't the sort of grandpa who spoiled my 2 brothers and me. I didn't feel at ease with him, and our relationship has been tense for a long time. When he made the first move to invite us here, I was surprised. He was really proud, and that touched me. I'm horrified by the conditions under which he died, and I am sad. Yes, I am saddened by his death. It's odd, isn't it?
What do you think of the attorney, Hubert de Noland?
Hubert de Noland is definitely a remarkable man, Inspector. Intelligent, adroit, and terribly efficient.
What do you know about Lorenzo Battaglieri?
Lorenzo is an old friend, Inspector. We've known each other for a long time. He's a refined and charming man. Someone dependable.
Did you see anyone at the Tortoise Belvedere last evening, or did anything at all catch your attention?
I spent the evening with my brother Billy and my sister-in-law Clara. We were relaxed and we all chatted. I saw nothing and I heard nothing, Mr. Norm. Sorry to disappoint you.
I get it.
Here, I won't further your investigation, Inspector, but tell me anyway.
I would love it if you could tell me a little about Sonia.
Sonia is a free woman, Inspector. A modern, intelligent, independent woman. She successfully managed to get out of Walter Jones's gilded cage.
Incorrect match. Incorrect match.
Good morning, miss. I'm Jack Norm. I'm a police inspector. That means I will conduct an investigation about the death of Mr. Jones. Walter Jones, you understand?
My daughter has not spoken for years. Leave her alone. She has nothing to do with all your cop business.
If it doesn't bother you, I'd love to take a photo of your hands, please. Thanks. This finger with a broken nail makes me strangely think of the tip of the nail that was left embedded in old Jones's face. Good morning, sir. I'm Jack Norm. I'm a police inspector. I'm investigating the demise of Mr. Walter Jones.
I saw the helicopter, Jack Norm. I am Colio. I have been a fisherman here forever. My daughter's name is Baina. She lives here with me. Zagora is an island blessed by the gods. Old Jones is dead, and it's sad. But he was lucky to die in Zagora.
May I photograph your shoes?
You are the boss, Jack Norm.
Thanks.
What is it? What do you want, Jack Norm?
Do these pearls mean anything to you?
There are lots of pearls on the island, Jack Norm.
Who is the rightful owner of this piece of chain?
It comes from the sea. One finds many things in the rocks.
Do you know how Baina broke one of her fingernails?
Baina works with her hands, Jack Norm.
To whom could this shred of cloth collected from the rocks of the Belvedere belong?
It is the sea that snags all this in the rocks, I tell you, Jack Norm. It comes from another part.
What can you tell me regarding the death of Walter Jones?
Old Jones was a bad guy, that is for sure. So he had enemies. That is how it is. This man was asking for trouble.
Where were you and what were you doing last night?
I was in the cabin with my daughter, Baina.
What was your relationship with Walter Jones?
Sometimes we had hatred. Sometimes we liked each other. But we did not know each other well. I do not know if I am sad or not. I would have liked to say goodbye to him, to Walter Jones. That's all.
Okay.
Correct match.
I'm collecting footprints, and I'd like to add yours.
Shy girl.
Correct match.
These pearls look alike. They're from the same necklace. Baina's necklace.
Incorrect match. Incorrect match.
There is the man who is always seeking the truth. So speak, Jack Norm.
What is this gift hiding? Why did Jones try so hard to secure you and your daughter's future?
Jones was in love with my daughter, Baina. I agreed to give him my daughter, but he wanted to have her before marriage. He called spirits of shame over me. Jones told me he wanted to give Baina all his wealth after his death. Even so, I told him one had to wait so that the evil spirits could pass far from here.
Walter Jones gave this to Baina, didn't he? What were the bonds that connected them?
Old Jones gave it to my daughter. Baina can never speak again because of him, so he gave her gifts like this.
Can you tell me more about the circumstances of this accident, please?
Baina had climbed with Jones to the top of Hawita, and they fell. I don't know how it happened. Jones never wanted to answer my questions, and Baina, since that day, no longer speaks.
According to you, how could Baina have lost pearls from her necklace?
Baina walks often. Baina lost her necklace, that is all.
These footprints near the tracks of the wheelchair lead me to think that there was an argument which got out of hand.
I don't know. I don't want to talk about it. They are not happy memories, Jack Norm.
What is not a good memory, Colio?
I have known brawls that ended badly, that's all.
Maybe. I'm collecting footprints, and I'd like to add yours. Shy girl. Strange construction. Hello? Anyone here?
This place is disproportionate.
Good morning, sir. I'm Jack Norm, police inspector. I'm mandated to conduct the investigation on the death of Mr. Walter Jones.
Good morning, Mr. Inspector Jack Norm. It's funny, your name rings a bell. Well, anyway, I'm Billy Jones, grandson and soon heir of the late Walter Jones. Well, at least I hope so.
May I photograph your shoes?
To each his own, Inspector. Go ahead.
Thanks.
Ask me your questions, Inspector. I love crime thrillers, you know?
I'm surprised that Colio, even if he was angry at Jones, was not more grateful for his generosity.
Well, I really have no idea, Norm. I'm not in the loop.
What can you tell me regarding the death of Walter Jones?
I found out about the death of the old man like everyone else at around 11:30 p.m. It was Nolan, his right-hand man, who informed us. This guy risked his life to save the old miser. Unbelievable, huh? The daughter of the fisherman, Cotillo, whatever. She's apparently involved.
Walter Jones gave this to Baina, didn't he? What were the bonds that connected them?
Listen, man, I'm not a saint and I have my faults, but I think that the old man was really revolting to want to fuck this girl.
Who is the rightful owner of this piece of chain?
Sorry, but I don't know anything about this, Norm.
I'm wondering whose shoe prints these are.
How am I supposed to know, Inspector? I'm not a shoemaker.
Where were you and what were you doing last night?
I was absorbed in a hand of poker and I was having pretty good luck. With Sonia and Martin for partners, and Nolan, the attorney of my grandfather, came to inform us of the death.
What was your relationship with Walter Jones?
Yeah, I don't really want to tell you stories about my family. What I can tell you is that I had 1,000 reasons to detest the old man. But I immediately reassure you, Norm, the death of my grandfather took me completely by surprise.
Tell me more about your reasons for hating your grandfather, please.
Principally to do with money, Inspector. I've got a fair bit of debt, and my super-rich grandfather never wanted to lend me a cent. But if you want to go there, I would never kill anyone for money. Or anything else, for that matter.
What do these gifts from Jones hide? Why did he want to assure the future of Colio and his daughter?
No, I have no idea.
What do you think of the attorney, Hubert de Noland?
Ha! Noland. He's a real poet, huh? If I could earn 1/10 of what he does thanks to his shrewdness at robbing the IRS, then I can tell you I'd be rich.
What do you think of Baina?
Ah, Baina. That natural, young, beautiful, and mute girl who makes men's heads turn. Well, except mine, of course.
What do you know about Lorenzo Battaglieri?
Lorenzo has talent, and those who tell you otherwise are lying and probably jealous. He's my friend, and I find it disgusting that he was put aside by Noland and my grandfather. Lorenzo was in a way their scapegoat, you know?
What do you think of Colio?
Sorry, man, I don't know him.
I would love it if you could tell me a little about Sonia.
Sonia's my sibling, dude. She's an awesome, intelligent, and generous woman, always attentive to the needs of others. In short, she's a super sister.
Did you see anyone at the Tortoise Belvedere last evening, or did anything at all catch your attention?
I didn't see anything of what was happening outside. I was absorbed in a hand of poker with Sonia and Martin.
Thank you for the information.
Incorrect match. Incorrect match.
Good morning, miss. I'm Jack Norm, police inspector. I'm charged with routine investigation of the death of Mr. Jones.
Good morning, Mrs. Jones, Clara Jones. I'm Billy Jones's wife. Walter Jones was his grandfather, but I didn't really know him. So I will be direct with you. I'm not really in an awful state about his death.
I'm collecting footprints, and I'd like to add yours.
My feet? It seems they are marvelous. You are amazing, Inspector. Go on.
Thanks.
Mr. Inspector, charged with the investigation, I'm all ears.
Who is the rightful owner of this piece of chain?
These links are really strong. It must be a man's.
What can you tell me regarding the death of Walter Jones?
I have de Noland's version. He said that he went to the Tortoise Belvedere where Walter Jones had fallen from the top of the cliff in his wheelchair. Now, whether it was an accident or a murder, that I can't say. I wasn't at the site, Inspector.
Where were you and what were you doing last night?
Well, I was at the restaurant throughout the evening, and I can't say anything more. It was Noland who informed us about Walter's death.
What was your relationship with Walter Jones?
Would you be surprised if I said that our relationship was far from good? His death won't change anything. This guy hurt a lot of people. I won't cry for him.
I'm surprised that Colio, even if he was angry at Jones, was not more grateful for his generosity.
I wasn't in the know, Inspector.
What reasons could Billy have had for hating his grandfather?
How can you love someone who never helped you even when he had the power? I know my Billy sometimes abuses money, but Walter Jones was really heartless. He never lifted even his little finger to get Billy out of his problems.
So, tell me a little about Billy.
Billy is not a solid and mature man on whom one can rely, Inspector. My life with him is not always easy, but he makes me laugh and amuses me. And he still surprises me after all these years. So, what can I say?
I would love it if you could tell me a little about Sonia.
Sonia is an exceptional woman, Inspector. She inherited the straightforwardness of her mother. And I'm lucky to have a sister-in-law like her, you know.
What do you think of the attorney, Hubert de Noland?
Hubert de Noland is a real professional, Inspector. And an attorney like him is influential. I never forget.
What do you know about Lorenzo Battiglieri?
Lorenzo Battiglieri is doubtlessly talented, Inspector, but I don't like his cynical and embittered nature.
What do you think of Baina?
I always wondered what happened to her, the poor thing. I wanted to talk about the accident. Indeed, the Jones family is in the habit of calling it the accident. She became mute after all.
And could you tell me more about this accident?
My husband already told me about it, but he doesn't know anything precise. He only told me that Jones and Baina had an accident together.
What do you think of Colio?
I don't really know this Mr. Colio, but he's always very polite with me.
Did you see anyone at the Tortoise Belvedere last evening, or did anything at all catch your attention?
Well, I can't tell you anything. I spent the evening at the restaurant. Sonia, Martin, and Billy will confirm this.
Without a doubt. Thank you.
Incorrect match. Incorrect match.
Good morning. Let me introduce myself, Inspector Jack Norm. I'm here to conduct the investigation on the death of Mr. Jones.
Inspector Norm. Very good. Very good. I am Martin Abruzzi, the husband of Sonia Jones, the granddaughter of the deceased.
May I photograph your shoes?
If this will be of use to you, Inspector, go ahead.
Thanks.
The interview can start, Inspector.
Who is the rightful owner of this piece of chain?
I confess I haven't the foggiest idea.
I'm wondering whose shoe prints these are.
Sorry, I don't know. I don't wear that kind of shoes.
What can you tell me regarding the death of Walter Jones?
Mr. de Noland had us all come together in the restaurant to give us the tragic news. It was a terrible shock for us, as you might suspect. Outside, the storm was raging. Abominable weather. It would have been madness to go out and risk our lives. Because, in truth, we couldn't have brought poor Mr. Jones back to life.
Where were you and what were you doing last night?
I spent the evening at the restaurant with my wife Sonia and the other guests until the departure of Mr. Jones. I returned to my suite at around 10:30 p.m. to read a manuscript, and I soon went to bed. It was Sonia who woke me up to tell me about the tragedy that had taken place.
What was your relationship with Walter Jones?
I certainly won't try to play any games with you, Inspector. And I won't surprise you if I tell you that I didn't have much affection for this man. He was the grandfather of my wife, full stop. That's it. A grandfather who was not particularly likable. He didn't behave very well with Sonia and me, and I have not forgotten. Therefore, his death truly doesn't affect me.
I'm surprised that Colio, even if he was angry at Jones, was not more grateful for his generosity.
I don't know anything about this, Inspector.
What do these gifts from Jones hide? Why did he want to assure the future of Colio and his daughter?
I was unaware of all of this.
I'm told that an accident left Baina mute. What is that about?
I don't know anything. My wife spoke to me about it. I know that Jones and Baina had a fall together that could have been fatal, but I don't know anything more.
So, tell me a little about Billy.
I'm afraid my brother-in-law has put himself in a tough spot, Inspector. He is compromising his career by gambling in a totally irrational manner.
I would love it if you could tell me a little about Sonia.
I'm badly placed to answer you with any objectivity, Inspector. Sonia is my wife. Sonia is the woman I love. Sonia is the woman of my life. She is irreplaceable for me.
What can you tell me about Clara?
I appreciate Billy's wife. She is charming, even if her conversations are rather limited, one has to admit.
What do you think of the attorney, Hubert de Noland?
I cannot comment on Mr. de Noland for the simple reason that I do not know him, Inspector.
What do you think of Baina?
Baina? The untamed young girl? What can I say? I have the impression that maybe she isn't entirely a stranger to Walter Jones's death.
Why would Baina have something to do with Walter Jones's death?
I know the old man ran after her a little. That surely couldn't have been to her taste.
What do you know about Lorenzo Battaglieri?
Delicate question, Inspector. I take Lorenzo to be a whimsical creature, somewhat unreliable, and is commonly considered to be an incompetent to boot.
What do you think of Colio?
I didn't have the chance to spend much time with Colio, Inspector. I don't really know him.
Did you see anyone at the Tortoise Belvedere last evening, or did anything at all catch your attention?
I'm afraid I won't be very useful to you, Inspector. I had dinner with the guests and with Mr. Jones. I stayed for a bit after the old man had left for his evening walk. It must have been around 10 p.m. Then I went back to my apartment. Well, the suite that was reserved for Sonia and me. It was around 10:30 p.m. I wanted to finish reading a manuscript. I'm a publisher, as you certainly must already know. So I read and then I slept. I confess I was pretty exhausted by the trip.
I have to believe you. Thanks. Good morning, miss. My name is Jack Norm. I'm a police inspector. I have to conduct an investigation on the death of Walter Jones.
Good morning, Inspector. I am Christina Bromsky. I am the girlfriend of Marco Jones, and Mr. Walter is not from my family. I didn't know him well. I don't like this place, which is full of sadness for Marco today.
I'm collecting footprints, and I'd like to add yours.
If it amuses you, Inspector, the feet, it is said, are an erogenous zone. I meant it for your investigation, of course.
Thanks.
All right now. I am all yours, Jack.
What can you tell me regarding the death of Walter Jones?
I don't know anything, Jack. It's the attorney who told us everything. He almost died to save the old man. Such courage is beautiful. Don't you agree, Jack?
Who is the rightful owner of this piece of chain?
I can't tell it all, Jack. Is it okay if I call you Jack?
No, call me whatever you prefer. Walter Jones gave this to Baina, didn't he? What were the bonds that connected them?
A diamond. One has to find the woman, Jack. Walter Jones was still very young, wasn't he? Despite his age. He must have used the gift to... In short, you see what I'm saying, Jack?
Where were you and what were you doing last night?
I spent the evening in the room with Marco. We were both there. Sonia told us about the death of Mr. Jones around 11:30 p.m.
What was your relationship with Walter Jones?
I didn't know Mr. Jones well, Jack. But I feel bad for Marco, who loved his grandfather so much.
I'm surprised that Colio, even if he was angry at Jones, was not more grateful for his generosity.
In any case, it's not to me that Mr. Jones would have made a gift.
I'm told that an accident left Baina mute. What is that about?
I don't know anything about it. I thought she was mute from birth.
What can you tell me about Clara?
She is very sweet, Jack. She is a little silly, but very nice. She married a gambler with a sense of humor, Jack, so she can't be bad.
What do you think of the attorney, Hubert de Noland?
Hubert de Noland is a pretentious and arrogant man, Jack. He is even humiliating sometimes. A lowlife.
So, tell me a little about Billy.
Billy is very cool. He's a very funny guy. He definitely gambles in life, just as he does in poker.
I would love it if you could tell me a little about Sonia.
Sonia is not as nice as she seems. I am possibly the only one who sees the truth about this. She is a snub who was born with a silver spoon in her mouth. She thinks only of herself. She looks down on those who cannot give her something. My life in this family is not very easy, you know, Jack?
What do you think of Colio?
The old man who lives near here? I don't know him.
What do you know about Lorenzo Battaglieri?
Lorenzo is a very charming man. He has a sort of tragic humor, which reminds me of my countrymen. I like him, Jack.
What do you think of Baina?
Baina? I am sorry, Jack, but I have nothing to say about her.
I would like to know more about Martin.
Martin is a very cultured man. He is also very charming. I like him a lot.
Did you see anyone at the Tortoise Belvedere last evening, or did anything at all catch your attention?
I don't know anything about it, Mr. Norm. I spent the evening in my room with my boyfriend, Marco. After dinner and a short hand of poker, I learned of the death of Walter Jones around 11:30 p.m.
Do you know anything about medicine?
No, Jack. I'm sorry.
I understand. Too bad that you can't help me. I see.
Incorrect match. Incorrect match. Incorrect match.
Good morning, Inspector Jack Norm. I'm the one charged with investigating the death of Mr. Jones.
Ah, it's you who will be investigating. Very good. Good morning, Inspector. I'm Marco Jones. Walter Jones was my grandfather. I would have preferred if you had been a tourist, because you have landed on the island of Segura for a sad reason.
May I photograph your shoes?
No problem. Do as you have to, Inspector.
Thanks.
Ah, it's you again, Inspector. So,
I'm wondering whose shoe prints these are.
I can't be useful. I can just tell those are not mine, Inspector.
Who is the rightful owner of this piece of chain?
Sorry, Inspector Norm, but I'm afraid I won't be useful to you.
What can you tell me regarding the death of Walter Jones?
How I would have loved to have done something to save my grandfather, but it was too late and too dangerous. It was Nolan who gave me the news. He suspects the daughter of the fisherman, but it's you who is the inspector, not me.
Where were you and what were you doing last night?
I spent the evening in my room, in Christina's company. It was Sonia who told me around 11:30 p.m. about what had happened. It was difficult to believe it. My grandfather was a real force of nature, despite his handicap.
What was your relationship with Walter Jones?
I greatly appreciated my grandfather. Walter was a great man, Inspector. I admired his rise to success. He did it all alone. We were very close in spite of all the old stories which my brother and my sister must have endlessly told you about.
Which stories are you talking about?
Old family quarrels. We are divided on our opinion about my grandfather, you see. My brother and my sister maybe hope to involve you. As far as it concerns me, I've nothing to add.
Walter Jones gave this to Baina, didn't he? What were the bonds that connected them?
Really, Inspector, I didn't know. It's not the kind of thing my grandfather would do.
I'm surprised that Colio, even if he was angry at Jones, was not more grateful for his generosity.
I have nothing to say about that, Inspector. I don't know what you're talking about.
What do these gifts from Jones hide? Why did he want to assure the future of Colio and his daughter?
I can say nothing on the subject, Inspector.
I'm told that an accident left Baina mute. What is that about?
My grandfather was always very discreet about that. I know that he and Baina fell off the cliff right here on this island, and that it cost him the use of his limbs. As for Baina, she remained mute from the time of the tragic event. But I don't know more details about this affair, Inspector.
What reasons could Billy have had for hating his grandfather?
Our grandfather hated the useless waste of money. Billy lost a lot of money gambling and hoped that grandfather would help him float back up, which of course he refused.
So, tell me a little about Billy.
Billy is still a child at heart, Inspector. He still makes me laugh sometimes, but he is totally irresponsible. It's very hard for his family.
What do you think of Christina?
Meeting Christina was one of the most important events in my life, Inspector. She is my soulmate, my feminine other. We are in total harmony on all counts.
I would love it if you could tell me a little about Sonia.
Sonia is my sister, and I have a lot of affection for her. She is a very strong and courageous woman.
What do you think of Colio?
I saw Colio on several occasions, of course, but I don't know him well.
What do you know about Lorenzo Battaglieri?
Lorenzo is a mystery for me, Inspector. He's a professional lightweight, bordering on an imposter, and he takes refuge in a cynical depression that's very unpleasant for others.
What do you think of Baina?
I don't really know her, Inspector. I have nothing special to say on this subject.
I would like to know more about Martin.
I appreciate my brother-in-law's qualities, Inspector, but we don't see each other much, and I hardly know him, and that's fine with me.
What do you think of the attorney, Hubert de Noland?
Noland. He's not a nobody. He's one of the best business attorneys on this planet, Inspector. It's not by chance that my grandfather recruited him.
What can you tell me about Clara?
Clara is an extremely kind woman, Inspector. She is almost a saint, and I don't know how she has put up with Billy for so long.
Did you see anyone at the Tortoise Belvedere last evening, or did anything at all catch your attention?
Sorry, Inspector Norm, but I saw nothing. I, for one, spent the evening in my room with my girlfriend, Christina.
Do you know anything about medicine?
No.
In that case, you can't help me.
I get it.
Incorrect match. Incorrect match.
Floor is still under construction. With Jones's death, I doubt these will be finished one day. Floor is still under construction. With Jones's death, I doubt these will be finished one day. No point in insisting. This is bolted. I need a key. Lorenzo Battaglieri's office.
The Indian Ocean Weather Center has the following message for you. The cyclone over the archipelago of the Maldives will generate a Class 2 tropical hurricane tomorrow night. This violent storm will sweep from the east to west zone between 1 a.m. and 4 a.m. Strong wind advisory. The wind speed forecasted is between 100 and 120 miles per hour. High tide will reach approximately 3 meters. Residents of the zone are advised to exercise the most extreme vigilance. The alert level is raised to orange.
I have to ask Lorenzo what this machine is used for. I have to ask Lorenzo what this machine is used for.
Correct match.
This piece of cloth was ripped out of this gray vest. Lorenzo Battaglieri's vest.
Incorrect match. Incorrect match.
I spent the evening in my studio listening to the radio, and then I learned of Jones's death from
please do come in.
It won't take too long.
I have some work to wrap up before tomorrow morning, but take a seat. Go on. Ask me all the questions you want. Feel free.
Books on very different subjects. In English, in German, in French. There's a Spanish one here. It's strange for someone as organized as Walter Jones.
I must insist you stop, Inspector Norm. You know very well you're not authorized by the law to conduct this sort of search. I must insist you stop, Inspector Norm. You know very well you're not authorized by the law to conduct this sort of search. I must insist you stop, Inspector Norm. You know very well you're not authorized by the law to conduct this sort of search.
May I photograph your shoes?
My shoes? Well, go ahead. I doubt that'll be very useful to your investigation, Inspector.
Thanks. Some questions, more questions, always more questions. I'm surprised that Colio, even if he was angry at Jones, was not more grateful for his generosity.
I don't know anything about this. I can't tell you anything.
What do these gifts from Jones hide? Why did he want to assure the future of Colio and his daughter?
I don't know anything about this. I'm sorry.
So, what was Lorenzo Battaglieri doing in the rocks near the Tortoise Belvedere last night?
I don't know what Battaglieri was doing there, but I can verify that I first saw him take the restaurant elevator with Walter when he left just after dinner. When I was working in my office, I saw Lorenzo Battaglieri hurriedly leave the Belvedere and come back to the tower after Walter's fall. Finally, as I already told you, I ran into him at the foot of the tower when I was running to help Walter. I think that Lorenzo Battaglieri did not see me. He seemed really distraught. This man certainly knows a lot about this, Inspector. I think I already pointed out before that he is madly in love with Baina. I wouldn't be surprised if he were her accomplice. And the murder seems to me to have been very well organized.
According to you, how could Baina have lost pearls from her necklace?
Walter was a brave man. He defended himself and hung on to Baina's necklace, trying to... Good God, what a horror.
Walter Jones gave this to Baina, didn't he? What were the bonds that connected them?
I knew that he wanted to give the diamond to Baina Jumhu. She hated him deeply since the accident. She came out of it shaken and mute. But like everyone else, she was attracted by the charismatic personality of Walter Jones.
Can you tell me more about the circumstances of this accident, please?
It was a little less than 3 years ago. Walter Jones was with Baina walking around in the rocks. They must have fallen several meters. I don't know the details of that deplorable accident.
Who is the rightful owner of this piece of chain?
It's gold. It could have been Walter's.
Did you see anyone at the Tortoise Belvedere last evening, or did anything at all catch your attention?
Yes, I was returning to the tower to settle an urgent case that Walter had given me when I saw Baina from afar. She's a young native who pretends to be an idiot. I also saw Lorenzo, who has an unrequited love for her. This woman is a devil. She's made him lose his head.
Interesting.
Incorrect match. Correct match.
I need a key to open that door. My stomach is growling. It's the moment to go and get a bite to eat.